Let's do this.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, guys, I was on mute all of this time. I guess the first part wasn't even relevant. Anyway, got a haircut. That was the first part. Second part is it's getting too hot, so I might adjust the cost, have a costume change, and change before I head out to prison today. But I want to do my intro again. Good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Daily Devotion with Beez. I'm your host, Beez the Chaplain. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Okay. My glasses are starting to fog up. That's how hot it's getting in here. Today's topic, okay. It seems like no one's live, so it seems like people are still in bed. But we'll continue this nonetheless, and then those who want to jump on afterwards can catch the rerun. The rerun can catch the update when I post it. Okay, so. The topic of today's devotion is called "Thou shalt not covet," and I think, well, not. I think I'm pretty confident that that's one of the commandments, and I wasn't too sure what "Thou shalt not covet" really meant. The big ones. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. But thou shalt not covet is one that. It's hard to get that proper definition straight off the bat, right? So my understanding of it is thou shalt not, and then I went online, as you do if you don't know. But I was looking at the word, or the definition of covet, and what it says is the Hebrew word translated covet is shamad, which is commonly translated into this word, the English word covet, lust, or strong desire. The Hebrew Bible contains a number of warnings towards this. And one of the key warnings is, one of the commandments. And it says, thou shalt not covet. Now, for me, it's like, once again, coveting leads to that disconnection with God. Sometimes, and what I understand, and it doesn't have to be, about a particular, like one particular person or a particular object. It can be anything. And what it does is it takes your mind off, or it draws you in because you have such a desire for that thing that the priority then becomes that thing and gets in the way of God, So whether it's a desire to be with someone, a desire to have something, a desire to go somewhere, or, achieve something, it becomes such a strong desire that becomes the focus, and it kind of separates you from the relationship that you have with God. Sometimes, and for me, it's like, well, ignorance is bliss. What you don't know, what you don't know won't kill you. What you don't have, you won't covet, or what you don't know about, you won't covet for. It's only when you start experiencing, or only when you start looking over the fence, peering over the fence, and start looking at what other people have, that you're like, oh, I wish I had that, or, I really want that, or it's so lucky that person has that. And that's what I want to talk about today. It's the reason why we covet, and something that helps me. I don't know, maybe God, something that God helps me do to remain humble and understand. Because one of the key things that I think is missing when we covet is that we see the good, that famous saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. Yeah, the grass is always greener because we look at the success. We look at it at its best. We don't look at, the fertilizer that was put, the seeds that were planted, the toiling and the harvesting of the ground. I mean, of the toiling of the soil, or I don't know gardening that well. All I did as a kid was mow the lawn, and I didn't even do that well. And I had to weed the gardens, right? But the reason why the grass is always greener for a lot of people is because there's a lot of work that goes into the green grass. There's a lot of struggle that goes into the green grass. And sometimes we don't take that into consideration. We just look over and say, oh, it must be nice that they have green grass. I wish I had green grass. It sucks that my grass has got weeds, and it's like, it's pretty like uneven and it's patchy and all this kind of stuff. But, they must have it good. They must have it awesome because they've got green grass, and then all of a sudden you start to resent them. You start resenting your own circumstances. You start feeling, obviously, you're feeling jealousy towards the person and the circumstances they're in. And all of a sudden there's this snowball effect that ultimately it makes it harder for God to, to have a relationship with you, because all you're doing is focusing on the green grass on someone's on the other side of the fence and not really paying attention to the blessings or to the things that God is giving you. And stops you from, and I'd say one of the biggest downfalls of coveting is that it stops you from receiving the blessings, or not stops you from having an attitude of gratitude for the things that you have and the things that God is constantly providing for you. The things that God is constantly giving you, because all of a sudden we start turning a blind eye to those things. We don't even care about the things that God has already given to us. And we're just wanting to stay focused on, the grass being greener on the other side, us being bitter towards them, us being bitter and resentful towards God because he hasn't given us green grass. And all of a sudden our relationship with God becomes skewed because of our covetousness. I don't like using that word, because we're wanting the other thing, and that's become the focus. What I really want to highlight is sometimes for me, God gives me this this ingredient, and the ingredient is understanding of this whole circumstance. Sometimes I'll look over and there's no word of a lie. The grass will be greener, right? The grass will be greener. But what I then appreciate is where God, in his wisdom and his discernment and showing me with humility and understanding that it's like the grass was greener because he went through hell. The grass is greener because of the stuff that he went through. And if you were in that circumstance, you wouldn't be able to handle it, Beez. You wouldn't be able to be there because probably your faith wouldn't be able to put you through it. Or that's not the grass that I've given for you. But irrespective of that, anyway, that the grass is greener. I need you to understand a few things so you know why that's green grass over there. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be greener. It's just green grass. The story that I want to bring up, it's a bit disjointed and not disjointed. It's just kind of jumping everywhere. But what I wanted to show you is this thing where perhaps that person where the grass is growing green didn't intend or wasn't necessarily needing to have that green grass garden. Maybe he was worried about, or maybe he wanted something else. But at the end of the day, he's got green grass. I've already lost a couple of people. So let me just go back and go to the passage. And the main passage is found in Genesis 37, verse 9 to 11. And this is the story that I'm talking about. It's saying this. It says this, and it talks about Joseph. And Joseph was, one of Jacob's sons. And this is the story where he's kind of growing up. He's in the prime of his life, the young strapping man of 17, well-educated, Jacob's favorite. But he also has visions. And I'm going to read one of the visions. And this is the second vision he tells his family. And it says this. And this is verse 9. Then he had another dream. And he told his brother, listen, he said, I had another dream. He told his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream. And this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come down and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. It's interesting that Joseph just stated the obvious. right? Sometimes people are saying, oh, Joseph was full of himself and he went and boasted in front of his friends, or boasted in front of his brothers, right? I beg to differ, because if you look at the life of Joseph, though on the exterior he was blessed, his heart was different, right? His heart was different. He didn't try, and success was not his thing. Financial wealth, financial gain, and stuff like that was not his thing. I think you discover it in the next section of the verse, right? The next part of the passage. But it's funny that Joseph's dad and Joseph's brothers were the ones that were already having their impression of the dream, and fueled, I would say, by their insecurities and their jealousy. They made a judgment on his dream, because all he said was, hey guys, I had a dream that the sun and the moon were bowing, the stars were bowing towards me, right? The first time he says it, he says, there was, all of these kind of grains of wheat or whatever, and they were bowing towards me as well. And all of a sudden, he doesn't say anything like, you guys are going to bow down to me, you guys are going to worship me, this is a prophecy. He's like, hey, I just had a dream. And though the intent was, I guess, humble and there was no ill intent, it was funny that the way that it was received, the impact that it made, caused jealousy, caused resentment, caused bitterness, caused insecurity, caused and fueled a lot of things, to the point where his brothers wanted to kill him, to the point where his brothers ended up selling him and sending him away. This is what I think Joseph wanted to do. It said, now his brothers had gone to graze for his father's flocks near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, as you know, sorry, I'm just getting a whole thing. Yeah, as you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I'm going to send you to them. Very well, he replied. So he went. Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me. Then he sent him off into the valley. While Joseph arrived, a man found him wandering, and he said, I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they're grazing in the flocks? And it wasn't until here. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him from a distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. All Joseph wanted to do was roll with his brothers, just hang with his family. Joseph had no intention of, like at that moment, of wanting them to bow down to him. He just wanted to be with them. But it's funny that during this time, all they're seeing in their anger, in their bitterness, in their resentment is through a dream. They're looking at his grass is greener because they're bowing down. Let's cut to, and this is where it kind of seems, this is a little far-fetched. It's here in chapter 45, verse 4. It says, we'll take it from verse 3. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still living? But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come close to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. Even in his success, what he's focused about, or what he's truly desiring, is relationship with his brothers. He went through hell to save them. He never, even when he became like the prime minister of Egypt, he wasn't about flexing anything. He was all about, okay, I'm being obedient to God. Yet the reason why he went through, he was chucked in a well, he was sold into Egypt, then he got sold as a slave, and then he was imprisoned, and he spent ages, like a few years in prison. And then afterwards, because of the dream that he had, he gets released and he's put in charge. Now, the responsibility at the end of the day, he was given wealth, he was given all the things, but at the end of the day, when you see the grass on the other side where Joseph was, it's green grass because he's the prime minister now. But the question was, would you have gone through what Joseph went through to have that green grass. And the funny thing is, Joseph didn't even consider it green grass. He didn't want to be there. He just wanted to hang with his family. He just wanted to be with his family. But yet, because he was obedient to God, he went through it. And now he's the prime minister. His brothers look and he's like, wow, you got green grass. But Joseph is like, it's not about the green grass. God's put me here so I could save you. God put me here. So though now you're terrified of me and it seems that you're bowing down to me, I didn't even want that. I didn't even desire that. It's funny how from the perception of Joseph, what his green grass was just being with his family. What his green grass was in this chapter was just being reunited with his brothers. What his green grass was seeing his father again after so many years and telling him that he wasn't dead but was still alive. That was his green grass. But his brothers are looking at him and their green grass is that it's wealth. For me, that's the kind of thing this morning that God has kind of helped me with. That when I'm looking at someone else's experience, when I'm looking at someone else's life, and it's really funny, well, not funny, sorry, it's really obvious nowadays. It's really obvious that from the outside, everyone's got green grass. With social media, everyone has green grass, and it's not just grass, it's diamond encrusted grass, it's gold lined and filigreed grass. It's not just green grass. Now it's like super duper grass. But for me, when I look at that grass, like, am I going to be willing to go through what they went through to get that grass? And what I'm actually thinking in my head now is, do they actually want that grass? Or are they just being fake? Or are they just saying, well, it is what it is. I'm in this circumstance now, but my green grass isn't even this. I'm actually looking at your grass. I'm looking at your grass and saying, hey, your grass is actually what I want. A stable relationship with my missus, like just peace of mind, just, having, just not having to worry, not having to stress, not feeling constantly lonely. And here I am looking at someone else's grass saying, oh man, I wish I had your car. I wish I had your life. I wish I had your apartment. God is saying, don't covet. Because the thing is, there is a lot of the story that we're not seeing. There is a lot of the struggle that we're not acknowledging. We're just looking at the good stuff. But even in the good stuff, even in the superficial stuff, God is saying that's not what it's about. The challenge that I have today, I guess for me, is when I think about those things, when I think about coveting, when I think about, because obviously I still do it. I just heard like a couple of days ago, there's a woman in South Australia, a woman's won 25 million. She won $25 million. And in my head, I was like, wow, what I could do with $25 million. A lot of stuff that I could do with. And all of a sudden I'm thinking about the stuff that I do have, the things that I don't have, the easy life that she's now got, because she got $25 million. And all of a sudden I start forgetting the blessings. I start forgetting the things that God has given me. Why? Because I'm thinking that her grass is greener now. What God enables me to do and what I'm grateful for God is by the Spirit of God and not because of me, is that he helps me realize what I am grateful for. By his faith, by his love, by his mercy, by his compassion, he reveals to me and he gives me my humble pie and he says, Beez, your grass, man, people would kill for your grass now. You just celebrated 9 years with your wife. You've got loving parents, you've got a loving family, you've got a support network around you. You're not lonely, my man. You're not in a place where you're suffering or you're experiencing crisis day after day. You're not in that space, man. Don't covet, man. Just be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. So that's for me, the lesson that I learned today is that even their green grass, they're probably looking at mine, and I'm just reminded today that why God is saying thou shalt not covet, because it's unnecessary. It takes me away from God. And then it makes me angry and bitter and resentful. And it's like that downward effect. I'm just being real with you. I don't know where this was going, but I just kind of wanted to share with you that. And I guess the challenge that I have is if you are looking on the other side of the fence, if you're looking on the other side of the fence, peering over, looking at green grass, one, just think about maybe the struggles, or maybe the things that we don't know what they went through to get that grass. And two, you don't even know that that's the grass that they want. And 3, allow God to come into your life so he can reveal to you the grass that you're standing on. You know, the grass that he has provided for you, so you can have a heart of gratitude, so you can have a heart of peace, you know, and a heart that is willing to be content with what you have. And that's all by the power of God. Because I know personally for me, I wouldn't be able to do it myself, because I'd be too busy, my elbow and my shoulder be getting tired because I'll be peering over the fence too much. Anyway, I hope you received the word of encouragement from my, I guess, me just being real and genuine and not lying about it, you know, because I still struggle with the thou shalt not covet commandment. Anyway, I'm going to close in prayer and then we'll wrap it up. Heavenly Father, thank you so much that revealing to us in the story of Joseph that his grass wasn't green. He didn't even want that grass. You know, he just wanted to be with his family. But because of the resentment, the bitterness, the anger, the jealousy of his brothers, he goes on a journey to save them. You know, so I just want to say thank you that you revealed to us, that you've given us a perspective given me a perspective that I may not have seen, where when I look at other people and what they have, I don't take into consideration the struggle or the hell that they may have had to go through to get where they were. And I just look at the success and I just look at that. And Lord, forgive me for when I succumb to the temptation of covetousness and it leads me away from you. And if anyone is going through the same struggles, Lord, I pray for healing. I pray for reconciliation. And by the power of the Spirit, I pray that you come into our lives again so we can have a heart of gratitude of what you already provide for us and what you're constantly going to provide for us. So we can say and celebrate without covetousness that Christ is enough for me. May you be with us today. I ask this all in your loving name. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me once again on Daily Devotion with Beez. My glasses are fogging up. It's going to be a hot one. I'm going to change my outfit. Thank you so much for joining me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube Live. Now, once again, this devotion may have been a bit out of place, out of whack, disjointed, whatever. If you have any questions about it, or you feel like I've kind of led you away or astray, please contact me. Because I know sometimes when I ramble, I just talk nonsense. So please contact me so we can have a chat about it. But I hope, irrespective of my ramblings, by the power of the Holy Spirit, you were still able to receive a blessing. And you were still able to receive the Spirit through the words that God shared this morning through a corrupted vessel like me. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I will see you tomorrow. Hey, Mom. I will see you tomorrow at 7:30 again for another daily devotion with Beez. In the meantime, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace out. Much love. My glasses are fogging up. I gotta go. Have a great day, everyone.